The 10th season of Consider This is brought to you in part by From the Top, a national program showcasing the musical talents of young people. From the Top can be heard on KVNO Classical 90.7 each Saturday at 6 p.m.
Consider This, a program of issues and information behind today's news. Once again, from the campus of the University of Nebraska at Omaha, here is your host, Andrea McMaster.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this edition of Consider This. Pictures tell dozens of stories. A century's worth of stories unfold in a new book called The University of Nebraska at Omaha. And today we're going to highlight this book and introduce you to the two authors. I want to begin by introducing you to Oliver Pollock. And you work in the history department here at UNO.
Andrea, I arrived here in 1974. I have lived 1/3 of this book.
So it's a good choice for one of the authors. And our other guest today is Les Valentine, and he is the university archivist, also a good author for the book. Good man to have behind the scenes of this book. So we're glad to have you here. We're excited about this. We should mention that one of the reasons, not necessarily for getting this book going, but UNO began 1908, and next year, obviously, it's going to be the 100th anniversary, and so it's a good time for this book to be debuted, to get people rolling with the excitement behind all of that. What gave you the idea for the book?
Well, the centennial, of course. With the upcoming centennial, it was just a natural to have a photo history of all the people and students and faculty who took part in the university history.
Tell me about working on this book, coming up with the ideas, starting to gather all of the pictures and all the information. What was that like?
Well, it wasn't easy. We have thousands of images over in university archives, and some of them I knew from working with them that they were just wonderful images, but others they were kind of hidden in negatives. You know, they didn't have prints for them. So I had to really go through hundreds and hundreds of images to select the best ones for each era of our history. And then, scan them and show them to Oliver, and we agreed on which ones should be included.
And the whole point, knowing that these images could have been hidden in negatives forever. No one would see them, likely, unless they were put together in something that someone would likely pick up, have on their coffee table. Who do you see picking up this book and enjoying reading a copy?
I hope we go out of print really quickly so the publisher has to put more out. If I'd said there are 50,000 alumni at UNO, if I say there are 15,000 students at UNO, there are bookstores all over town that are carrying this book. It's not an expensive book. It's a combination memory book. Les and I discussed it, and I've talked to other people who've seen the book. They don't start at the beginning, they don't start at the end, they pick the chapter that was their age. If they were here in the 60s, they go to the section of the book that's in the 60s. Our goal actually in the book is to give a sort of a cohesiveness to the almost 100-year of existence. So we're happy to market this book, we're happy to sign it for folks, and we hope it goes out of print and the publisher's gratified, makes their profits, and brings more copies out.
And likely more than just alumni or current students you see picking up this book, but people who really, University of Nebraska at Omaha has become a part of their life just because it's a part of Omaha.
Well, I think it's a neighborhood book. I think it's also a high-quality view book for students thinking about coming here. I think it's a promotional item. It's not a completely rosy picture because the university's had tough times and not everything is smooth going, but the university itself and our students are all works in progress. We're never the same from day to day, and we hope we have a better education down the road. And this covers the struggles from a private institution to a municipal institution, and most important for us today, the last 40 years as part of the University of Nebraska system.
And I heard that you two were the best authors, really, for this book. Describe why that is. It's because of your history here at the university, and you have to share some of that.
Well, I've been here as a student since the fall of '72, and the university has changed just incredibly since I've been here. And So as Oliver says, we've been here just, over 60 years together.
Math challenged.
Right. Over 60 years. I mean, you wouldn't recognize the place when I started in 72 to now. It's just completely changed.
And that had to be fun for you, then digging back to these pictures, saying, oh yeah, I remember that.
That's
or
right.
That's what that
That's
looked
right.
like. You often forget, and when you don't see it on a day-to-day basis.
That's right.
Well, I've challenged Les a few times over the last several years. Let's do something together. Let's do something together. He was always happy when I left the room. But this time round, I said, let's do something on UNO. This is my third book with this publisher. So I already had the routine down. I knew the timelines. I knew what they were looking for. And I knew I could write captions. Les has the skill of identifying the images. And we split the task. He whittled down the images. We would get together on the weekend. We would put 3 huge tables together in the basement of the library. We'd lay the images out and say, this goes in chapter 4. This one should be next to this one. This sets off that one. And there were always too many pictures, so we ended up picking the pictures that actually spoke without a caption, but then the caption amplified what the picture was about. Mm-hmm. And we did them basically in chronological order, and it tells a story. One of my favorites is the last graduation of Omaha University, June in 1967. 2 people have seen the book, and they graduated in 67, and they were given the offer of getting a OU diploma or a UNO diploma. They didn't tell me. They couldn't remember which one they took. But so they turned to that chapter, the last years of the municipal university. But it was a very nice relationship. I've tried to find other projects that Les and I can collaborate on, but it may take another 5 or 10 years.
Well, you said for every photo that was used, there were probably 30 or 40 that were tossed out.
Oh, definitely.
And I'm sure that that is the case when going through something like this. You had hundreds and hundreds of photos to work with.
Oh, yeah, we have thousands of images in archives. And one of the things I use to decide whether we should consider a photo is if it could be identified. If we had background material on that photo in the documents in archives, then it would be easier for Oliver to write the caption on it. So that's one of the things, an important thing that I use to decide on which photos to choose, how well it could be documented.
And who really were your resources for the book? I mean, you probably had some pictures that you, of course, weren't here during that time, had no idea who would be in. I mean, who did you gather? Did you call some old alumni that were still around, or what did you do?
Virtually all the photos in the book are from our collection in archives in the library.
Okay.
The Gateway is a real useful source for identifying the era from which the picture came. I write in the history of higher education, and so I have a sense of American education in the 20th century, whether it's the Vietnam War and draft protests, whether it's the civil rights movement, whether it's athletics. Higher education is a genre. And so you've got this background knowledge, then you've got the picture, and then you come in with the specifics. And if you can't make the 3 things come together, find another picture where you can. There's an ample number of pictures to work with. In fact, Les and I have toyed with a show at the library, pictures that got cut, good pictures, but they didn't get into the 216 that we used.
We'll talk a little bit about, too, choosing. Lots of good things happened at the university in the past 100 years, but you said that you didn't cover up the bad things, like the economic struggles, the suicide of a university president, a parking lot that took years to get built, and then a murder that took place on campus in the 1950s. So even though there was lots of highlights and lots of good times, that was part of the history, and you wanted to make sure that that was correct as well.
Well, I was being interviewed by Leo Biga yesterday, and he started talking about the Depression, and it just fell on me that during the Depression, the school did 3 great things. It moved from 24th and Reddick to this location. It built a new building. It became municipal, and I told you I'm math challenged. They became accredited. 4 things happened in a time of dire want. How'd that happen? I think as a municipal university, one of the maybe 15 municipal universities in the United States, the local community pitched in. And the students did their part, but to accomplish those four things in the lowest economic period in our nation's history. And it was only yesterday when Leo Biga asked me, well, Oliver, how did these things happen in the Depression? I have to rethink how it happened. Who were the people in the 1930s that pushed this? The electorate, the people paying the taxes, the students coming here. It's been quite impressive.
Well, let's get going and showing some of the photos so that you can describe, you know, from the very beginning. We're going to start in chronological order as well as how they were in the book. Let's begin here with the cover. Why was this chosen?
Well, it's just a wonderful image. A lot of the images in archives are just in negative form that we don't have prints for. So we have a scanner that we dedicate just to film, or for negatives. And I got this strip of 35mm negatives, and I thought, well, this looks, maybe I'll look at this. And I put it in the machine, and I scanned it, and it came up on the screen. And that just simply wonderful image came.
It's a 1971 jazz concert on the steps of the Arts and Science Hall.
You know, it doesn't show the students' faces, but normally you would want to see students' faces. But for the cover of a book, the students are looking right up the tunnel to the Arts and Sciences Hall at a jazz concert.
A huge crowd.
The picture's just wonderful, particularly for the cover.
Okay. Well, let's keep on moving.
No, don't leave that one.
Oh,
I got something to say.
Oh, okay. Well, I think we already moved on.
Okay, sorry. Well, it's an iconic picture. It is the symbol of the university. And on the cover, you can see very clearly under the cupola, University of Nebraska at Omaha. And as Les said, we are in the picture. We see the backs of people's heads, and we are looking up. And I think I know somebody who was at this concert. It's vague in their memory, but they're creating a false memory now to be there.
That's neat. Okay, well, we can move on now.
Yes.
All right. And this picture came one of the next ones in the book that you wanted to debut today.
Daniel Jenkins, the founder of the university, served as president from about 1908, 1909 to 1927 when he died. He was incredibly important to the foundation of the founding of the school and its survival economically. He was really dedicated. He was a Presbyterian minister. He was on the faculty of the Presbyterian Theological Seminary at Omaha. And Dr. Jenkins served the first several years as president of OU without a salary, with just his salary from the seminary. So he very important in our history.
Okay. Well, let's keep moving here.
Reddick Hall. I've heard stories from people who went to school in Reddick Hall, and it was just a unique experience. It was the first building on campus, and the closeness of the 26 students who started at OU, the closeness they were able to get with the faculty and their fellow students it's incredible. You know, they'd sit around the fireplaces in the winter, talk about class. They'd sit on the 2 or 3 balconies in the summer and spring with their student colleagues and with faculty, and it was just really a close atmosphere. And this picture just kind of shows how you're close. That was the only building on campus.
It shows off the architecture of that day,
definitely.
too.
And this building predates the campus. This building was donated to house the campus. I think it goes back to the 1870s.
I think so, 1870s, somewhere like that.
And it grew. It didn't start out that shape. It just had additions put onto it.
Right.
Okay.
And then it was removed, wasn't it, Les?
It was torn. It was taken down and moved to on a lake in Minnesota.
Oh,
and
really?
It burned down eventually.
Oh, okay. Here we've got the OU football team.
OU football team. You know, we started out with sports from the very start. The students really wanted wanted to take part in sports. This early football team, they tried hard, as the book says. But they didn't have a lot of success. But they were very spirited, and they tried hard.
This is 1913 photo.
Right.
And in our division of skills, I said that Les had to spend more time on these sports stories, because that's not my strong card.
Okay, and the next one I think kind of contrasts this photo. Here we've got the Gallaudet Queen.
Gallaudet.
Okay.
This is Gallaudet Queen Mildred Foster, I think in about 1915. The Gallaudet was the most important social occasion of the year, and it started out as a way to help finance athletics. students would pay like a penny for a ballot, and they'd write on the back of their ballot who they think the Gala Day queen would be. And then it was like a homecoming queen or a prom queen, something like that.
Okay, and this photo's from May 1914. Sure don't dress like that today. Okay.
This is the campus with Reddick Hall on the right and Jacobs Gymnasium on the left. Reddick Hall, I believe, was torn down in the mid-teens.
This is just kind of really to show how often do changes of the urban landscape go unnoticed and unremembered. That's one of the captions there that Mr. Pollock used.
That's one of my foibles, unfortunately. You drive down Dodge Street, there's an empty space. But last week there was something there. It takes some scraping of my memory to figure out what was there beforehand. Photos help, though.
And of course, one of the themes of our university from its very start was growth. And we just outgrew Reddick Hall. So we built Jocelyn Hall. And then that's when they took down Reddick Hall.
Okay.
Jocelyn Hall's on the right there.
And it's the same Jocelyn family that ran a newspaper advertising chain that in 1930-31 contributed the money to create the Joslin Art Museum.
Oh.
Here we have religious organizations provided opportunities for socialization, as this 1913 YWCA stag party reveals.
Yeah, the stag party, I haven't been able to figure out whether it's on campus or off campus. I think it's at one of the girls' homes. But I mean, this is a good percentage of the female class. Good percentage of the female students at the university are in this picture. So it gives you an idea how small and how close the university community was at the time.
And what I bring to this is recognizing the importance of the YMCA and the YWCA in the early 20th century in Protestant youth organizations. Woodrow Wilson thought about sending the YMCA to the Soviet Union and make them moderate their policy. That's how important the Ys were in the first 2 or 3 decades of the 20th century. So
interesting.
This is the middle of about a 2.5 foot long panorama shot of all the faculty, students, and staff at OU, taken in October of 1923, I think.
Right, October 26, 1923, on the Jocelyn Hall steps.
And what I did is I just took the middle of the image and scanned that and turned it into a picture. Hilma Peterson, coach on the right, and the basketball team is at like 27,
Yep,
28?
1927 to 28, the women's basketball team.
Yeah, this is one of the first teams that were allowed to wear shorts instead of bloomers. So I talked to Hilma about this several years ago, and she was pretty proud of the fact that she had a hand in getting university administrators to get rid of the bloomers and so that they could wear regular uniforms like the men did. Orchestra, 1929 in Jocelyn Hall. Augusta Knight art class. I think this picture is just wonderful.
I love this photo, yes. This is early 1920s.
This is the cafeteria. They're remodeling the cafeteria upstairs here. And when kids look at this, they're going to think, well, we really have it good now. This was in the basement of Jocelyn Hall, I believe. Take Seelock.
this is Professor Seelock, the first president when the school went to a municipal basis. He had been at Teachers College at UNL. He had Iowa connections and University connections, and he was seen to be the ideal person to get the school running on a financial basis and get accreditation and get it moved from the near north side to some other location. It's the Depression. I think he's a Democrat. I think he's a New Dealer. He's a liberal. And the powers that be in the city were not so left of center. For instance, the World Herald was a Democratic newspaper until 1934, and when Gilbert Hitchcock, Senator Hitchcock, the owner of the World Herald, died, shortly thereafter it became the Republican newspaper that it is and has been ever since. So I think that Seelock got caught in a, shall I say, a tornado, a maelstrom, accusations of spies in classrooms, moles. His contract is not renewed, and I suspect he was very depressed. He had communications with Senator George Norris, creator of the unicameral spirit behind the Tennessee Valley Authority, and he took his life. It's a very sad statement, turn of events, and
that was
there's little sign of him on campus today, but there's
that
a
was
debt to him.
1935.
That was in 1935.
Okay, here we have the traditional graduation class procession in 1932.
Yeah, this is kind of a rare shot. There's not very many pictures of this angle of the old campus. This is President Seelock leading the graduation ceremony, I believe, in 1932. The people in the white outfits in the back are nursing students. Women's Recreation Association. It's just a good picture of a lot of girls there and their
Pose in their
equipment.
traditional athletic clothing, yes.
Right. This is a very successful men's basketball team. Ced Hartman's on the right. They were undefeated.
I'd like to bring up now that when Les and I did this project, there is another book about the University of Nebraska at Omaha. It's by Tommy Thompson, one of my colleagues in the history department, and it came out in 1983 for the 75th anniversary of the school. And his approach, what he published, really assisted us. We didn't have to duplicate a lot of the work he did. We could build on it. And this is a footnote and an acknowledgement and a thank you to Tommy. I just didn't want this session to go by
All right,
without
well, thank you.
doing
Well,
that.
the next photo that we were taking a look at was the 19-year-old sophomore. I love this photo. Who edited the Gateway. This is 1935.
Ellen Hartman, she was my high school journalism teacher at North High School. She was a very, very sweet lady, and it was just a wonderful image of her at the desk.
Okay, we don't have a lot of time. We have about 5 minutes left, so I want to get through some of these photos. So we're going quickly through them. If you see one here that jumps out to you, just share what we're
That's Sarah
looking at.
Jocelyn receiving an honorary degree.
And she's getting it from whom?
Roland Haynes.
The
on
person
the right.
who replaced Mr. Seelock.
That's right. That's an amazing image there. I mean, people look at that now and think there was nothing here, and there was nothing here. That's the building now that says the Arts and Sciences Hall is almost complete in that picture. It's about 1938.
Wow.
Tomahawk Beauty Contest. You know, OU did have a strong support for World War II, and this image is 1946. Some returning veterans on the top. Construction of the field house with Arts and Sciences Hall in the background is kind of cool.
The interior of the field house.
OU Creighton basketball game.
And it had a dirt floor for many years.
This is the Mill Levy Victory Party in 1951, I believe.
And this picture is a wraparound on the cover that goes to the back.
Oh, okay.
This area here doesn't exist anymore. The parking garage is there, but it was just south of the Arts and Sciences Hall.
And the Quonset hut that you see there doesn't exist anymore either.
Air Force ROTC Military Ball. Milo Bell there on the right, and the person second to the left on the top is Curtis LeMay.
During the 50s and the 60s, the GI Bill, the Bootstrapper program, returning veterans, the linkage between our campus and Offutt Air Force Base, there was an ROTC. Well, it wasn't quite a military presence, but service personnel took advantage of what we had to offer.
Tangerine Bowl, very significant event. This picture here shows that we were part of the Omaha community. This is a pep rally on the Douglas County Courthouse steps. Final OU Board of Regents, 1967. Bootstrappers. Bootstrappers are very important to the history of OU.
And why was that?
Well, their tuition. We were able to survive partially, at least, because of all the returning veterans that came over here just to go to school.
And in the Alumni Center, one of the halls is called Bootstrapper Hall.
Makeup. This is a great image.
I love this one too.
I actually had her daughter in a class about a year ago.
Kind of self-explanatory. Cheerleaders on the old scoreboard. That's the hockey coach in the back. That's Mike Kemp, who is the current hockey coach.
But the year on this
is 70 and 71. The championship volleyball team, 1996. And all 4 chancellors there.
4.5.
Peter Keywood Institute on South Campus.
And that takes us on to the edge of the future.
Yes. Well, it was so fun to see some of this, the sneak peek of the book.
Okay.
Our viewers got a great, great chance to look at what the book. Now, I wanted to share how people can purchase the book. You said it's available at the University Bookstore. It's available in stores across the Omaha area as well. People can purchase it online, on campus. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. Right?
Absolutely.
So
Barnes
get
and
your
Noble,
hands on the book.
Borders, Bookworm.
And probably will be debuted a lot next year. A lot of people will be sharing it and showing it off, and lots of reoccurring types of photos in the book, like groundbreaking in construction, athletics, and candid photos of student life. But it's fun to just see how the uniforms of people and the clothing changed, and the faces and the nature of the faces. So glad that you could be here today and help us show off this book for folks. And if you want to get a copy, again, it is available online and on the campus bookstore and metropolitan bookstores as well. And thank you for joining us for this edition of Consider This.
Thank you, Andrea.
Consider This is an issues and information program produced by UNO Television. More information and program archives can be found at unotv.unomaha.edu. If you'd like to share your comments about this show, call UNO TV at 402-554-2516 during regular business hours.
The 10th season of Consider This is brought to you in part by From the Top, a national program showcasing the musical talents of young people. From the Top can be heard on KVNO Classical 90.7 each Saturday at 6 p.m.